Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 18.4 Beta 1 has been out for about a week at this point. But there's even more features to talk about since the iOS 18.4 Beta 1 is out. What's new video. Not only will we talk about features and changes, but we'll talk about some Apple news, as well as the overall experience, since I've been using it full-time on the 16 Pro Max and iPad Pro, and we'll talk about your experience based off the YouTube community poll, where at the time of this video there's over 12,000 votes and 158 comments. I've gone through all the comments to determine what the experience is like for all of us so far, and we'll read some of those toward the end of the video, so be sure to stick around for that. Now this week, Apple said it changed the way it implements child account setup and age verification. They actually posted a whole PDF about it, helping protect kids online, where they're implementing the overall verification a little bit differently. So I think this is a pretty critical update. It's great for protecting kids online. It says making it easier to set up and manage accounts for kids. And you see that when you set up a new account on your iPhone. When you set it up for the first time with iOS 18.4, it actually asks you what the age range of the child is that you're setting it up for and gives you different things to help you along with that. So I'll link this in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. The new Powerbeats Pro 2 have a heart rate tracking feature, and I showed this in my unboxing video. You'll see the sensors here on the Powerbeats Pro 2, but if you're using them with gym equipment while working out, you cannot listen to music at the same time for some reason. Many users have reported this. YouTuber DC Rainmaker asked Apple about this, and they confirmed that you cannot listen to music with your iPhone while also paired to gym equipment for heart rate tracking. That was according to Apple in an email. So this seems like an odd omission for something that seems crucial to this particular update with the heart rate tracking. However, some have said that if you use it with an Android phone, it works fine. So I'm not sure if that's true. I'd have to try it out, but maybe if that's true, they can update this with firmware and make it available in the future. But that seems very strange because otherwise you would just use your Apple Watch, use these for music, and then go about your day like you normally would. Connect your Apple Watch to the workout equipment, listen to music through the headphones. So let me know if you've experienced that and what you think of that in the comments below. Now with the latest wallpapers on the iPhones, it looks like Apple has sort of something hidden within the message of the wallpaper itself. So if we switch to the wallpaper that's included with the iPhone 16, the iPhone 16 Plus, and the iPhone 16e, there's actually a little bit of a message there. So let me go ahead and switch this over here. What some have said is that because we have three different circles on the ones with three different lenses, it represents the lenses. With the regular iPhone 16 and 16 Plus, there's two circles, and there's one circle on the 16e. Maybe it represents the lens, maybe it's a coincidence, but it's just something I thought I'd point out. I believe 9to5Mac actually pointed this out and noticed this coincidence. Now with the iPhone 16e, Apple removed MagSafe in what most people think is a pretty odd or just flat out wrong move. John Gruber of Daring Fireball said that an Apple representative told him that most people in the 16e's target audience exclusively charge using the charge cable and don't use wireless charging at all. However, I think they're forgetting about all the different accessories you can use with MagSafe. So I don't know if this was just an excuse. You can charge with MagSafe, you'll see that here, but it doesn't adhere magnetically. That means you can't use any of the accessories, you can't use nightstands and things like that, and it's just an odd omission overall. Of course, their cases could have included it, and third-party cases do include the option to use MagSafe, but for whatever reason, Apple says that it's just not in their target audience. But I think they're underestimating how many people use it for accessories. So again, let me know what you think of that in the comments below. If that's crucial to you that the next iPhone have MagSafe, maybe they're just testing it out for the iPhone 17 Air or something else. For important messages or something very serious, this is a critical addition that Apple has added to iOS. Recently, Apple added a new critical messaging API that was added into the iOS code in a recent version that allows third-party applications to use and send critical messages via SMS for very important messages from an app. They're not allowed to be used for phishing, spamming, or other inappropriate reasons, and can be disabled if an app is sending those messages and you don't deem them critical enough. And I'll show you that in a moment. You'll see on their documentation here, it says sending SMS messages from an app, send critical messages from inside your app using the critical messaging API. And it says the critical messaging API provides a way for apps to deliver critical messages to a set of phone numbers. This can serve a number of purposes. For example, if an enterprise wants to receive check-ins from employees working in hazardous or rural environments, being able to automatically message a corporate check-in point may help check the safety of those employees without disrupting their work, or if the employee is unable to access or unlock their iPhone. Then you have additional information such as enabling it, different information or important information, and more. So I think this is great that they're adding critical messaging and something that will be welcome to different enterprises or people that can utilize this. Now, as far as disabling that, if we go into settings and then we go down to privacy and security, under privacy and security, scroll down to where it says critical messages. And if you do have applications that can send them, you can disable them here. So it says apps that have requested permission to send critical messages as text messages will appear here. Now, I'm not sure why you would want to disable this, but if it's for an employer, of course, it could help with your safety or be critical messages that you could see. So that's a great addition I think they've made and something that could be very helpful. Now, as far as new features, the new Mail update added something recently with iOS 18.4 Beta 1 that allows you to delete messages and bring you to the main inbox instead of going to the next message. So prior to this, if you go into Mail, within Messages, if you go in maybe delete a message here, we'll just delete this, it goes automatically to the next message. If we go back, we'll undelete the last message here. So let's undo, 3-finger swipe does that. We can now disable this so that when we go into a message and delete it, it brings us right back to our inbox instead of the next message. So you can do that by going into your settings. So if we go into settings, scroll down to apps, then go down to mail. And within our mail settings, if we scroll down, you'll see delete or move message action. If we go into this, we can now select don't select a message. So now if we go into our inbox here, go into this email, delete it, we go right back to our inbox instead of the next message. So I think a lot of people will appreciate this. If we go into Find My is now available in South Korea, it seems, not just for iOS 18.4, but iOS 18.3.1 as well. Now, if you have multiple SIM cards that you're using for cellular data, there's a new arrow that's up and down next to it so you can switch between different SIM cards. It's very similar to what we have here with satellite, as well as what we have now next to our focus modes with these two little arrows. Now, if you're using the Passwords app, you'll see that we have 3 different keys here. You'll see the same thing within the app itself. When you utilize Passwords, we'll have 3 keys where it was 1 before. Something I saw while using iOS 18.4 Beta 1 was a new pop-up for Genmoji. It says create your own original emoji to add to messages or use as a sticker. So it's just a little banner that pops up here next to the new icon they have with 18.4. Code found by 9to5Mac also suggests there's a new home accessory category in iOS 18.4. We know Apple's working on new home devices, so that seems to make a lot of sense. Within Safari, if we go into a new tab and tap into the search bar, we now have our recent searches here in the top. We can clear them all if we don't want to show them, but they show up by default when you tap into the search box now. Also in Safari, if you press and hold on an app that you don't have installed, press and hold, you get a preview in the previous version, where in the new one, it just pops open and says open in the App Store, open in Safari. So I don't know if this is a bug or something that they've changed. Now, something that's not technically a new feature per se, but has to do with iOS 18.3 in beta, is the ability to use Starlink satellites with T-Mobile. If you sign up for the beta, they can accept you, and I was finally accepted into this. So if I go into my settings, go to cellular, and you'll see now under my cellular data options that it now says satellite. I now have the option to allow this iPhone to connect to the satellite network provided by your carrier. So if I'm in a remote area where I don't have cellular signal, I can connect via satellite using Starlink. I'm not sure how well this works, but if I'm in a remote area, I'll have to try it out. But I think it's great to have the option. Of course, you can disable it if you don't want to use it, but it is provided for free in beta for now as just an additional carrier for additional roaming. So that's great. Doesn't cost anything yet. Maybe it will in the future. Now, also another thing that's coming very soon to iPhone 15, maybe with Beta 2, has to do with visual intelligence. With the iPhone 16e, they added the option to use the Action button or just go into the Control Center and use visual intelligence. So you can open it just like that, or we can go into Settings. Under Action button, we can now set it for visual intelligence. So press and hold, it will open up just like you would expect. So this is something we can expect very soon on the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max. Now, when it comes to the next iPhone, now that we have the 16e, it looks like the iPhone 17 Pro may get an upgrade we didn't initially expect. 12 gigabytes of RAM instead of 8 gigabytes. That's according to analyst Jeff Poo. And while many of the leaks show a new camera tray in the back, we have recent renderings from Sonny Dixon showing recent leaks that basically match what everyone's saying. So we have a few different versions of what it could look like. So we're waiting for all of those things to come out. Of course, that's a ways off in September or so. As far as releases this week, well, we had quite a few of them. The first one was a Safari technology preview. And Apple releases these every couple of weeks. You'll see here, this is version 2.14 on February 27th, and you can test it out on Sequoia or Sonoma. So if you want to do that, it's now available. Apple also released beta firmware updates for AirPods Pro 2 and AirPods 4. So that's now version 7E5080A. Let's see if they're updated since I have these on the beta. So we'll go back here. Let's see if we have it. We'll go to my AirPods. I haven't checked yet to see if they're updated, and I'm on 7E5 or 7E67B. So I don't have the latest beta. I'll need to make sure they're updated soon. We also got a public release version of AirPods Max firmware. So with AirPods Max, there's a new firmware update to version 6F25. Apple's not telling us what's available here. And if we go to their website, you can see the latest update here, 6F25. And if we scroll down, you can see the different updates. Sometimes they give information, but generally it just says bug fixes and other improvements. So we don't really know what's included, unfortunately, other than bug fixes and improvements. But they did update them recently on AirPods Max. Also, we had the 16E yesterday, so that launched, and of course I'm using it full time. And Apple pushed quite a few other small updates this week, according to Aaron P613 on X that you can see here. So lots of different updates came out. Of course, I expect some other updates very, very soon. And with iOS 18.4 Beta 2, I would expect it sometime this week. It could be earlier or later. We don't really know at this point. And we also could see iOS 18.3.2. We don't have any other versions other than iOS 18.3.1 to reinstall or downgrade to. And so I would expect something very soon. And probably it would have some bug fixes and security updates. But again, once it's released, I'll let you know and let you know what's new. Of course, Apple's also working on iOS 18.5, as we've heard before from Mac Rumors. They've seen it in their analytics being used, and so we're waiting for that, and we expect some Siri updates with that version. One quick thing I wanted to note is I've been using the iPhone 16e for half a day or so, or a day at this point, as my main phone, and if you're sensitive to PWM, this is a terrible option. It's really bothering my eyes, so even more so than using the non-Pro version of the iPhone 16. I used the 16 Plus for a while. It didn't bother my eyes as much as this one does. So after using it, I can barely look at it. It really bothers my eyes. So I may have to switch back earlier than a week, but I'm going to try and use it for a week or so before my review. Now, as far as the overall experience of iOS 18.4 Beta 1, well, generally it's decent, but definitely has some issues. There's some lag or stutters throughout, and I even saw that on 18.3.1 on a new phone, which is a bit of a shame here. I did have the phone completely reboot on its own. I was just using it. It was set down, rebooted on its own. It still has that wallpaper bug, so it seems to saturate more. So watch it here. You'll see the background, swipe up. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't, but it definitely seems to change. Sometimes it saturates more, sometimes it desaturates. Also, people are saying the keyboard is freezing, music stops playing in CarPlay. In fact, I've used it with CarPlay, and while connectivity seems to be improved a little bit over 18.3.1, in general, it still is very buggy. So there's definitely some odd issues with CarPlay. And also signal hasn't been great for me. It did have a new modem update, and the signal would just drop randomly. I'd have 1 bar or so. In the new C1 modem, you'll see I have 2 bars of connectivity here. I only have 1 on the Qualcomm modem on the 16 Pro Max. So I don't know if that's the beta or something else. Also, there's some odd volume issues for many people when playing back video. It will just jump full volume or go way down. So lots of really odd things. And iOS 18 seems to be in a critical state as it could be so much better, but it's really lacking for so late in the update cycle. But generally, when it is working well, people say it's super smooth. You'll see here, performance-wise, it just seems to be smooth with ProMotion. And on older devices, the same is true. So just scrolling, you'll see it's smooth. No issues here. And if we go when it's running properly, like I said, it seems to be fast. Open up the camera, you're right in. There was a little bit of lag there, though, that comes and goes for no reason. If we go into music, you'll see it loads pretty fast. No real issues generally with that, and things like Face ID seem to be okay. But battery life overall was pretty decent the first few days, but then it got really bad for me. So if we go into settings, go down to battery health, you'll see I have 100% with 137 cycles. And if we take a look here, we'll go into the last 10 days. Yesterday, when I use this full time, I'm having all sorts of weird touch issues here. 2 hours and 41 minutes of screen active time, 3 hours and 33 minutes of screen idle time, and using 75% of the battery. The day before, I only had 2 hours and 36 minutes after using almost 100% of the battery. So pretty poor battery life overall. However, today was a little bit better, 3 hours and 5 minutes. So very odd battery life and definitely an issue for me. And I know it has been for many of you, but it is an early beta, so we'll have to wait and see if it gets better. Now, as I mentioned, performance before, it's pretty good, but overall heat has been a little bit hotter than I would expect. Right now, this one is a little bit cooler, but let's take a look, and we'll take a look at the iPhone 16e since I have my SIM card in this. Initially, after installing the update, it was quite warm, but it's cooled down. But let's take a look and see what we've got. So on the iPhone 16 Pro Max with 18.4 Beta 1, we're at about 32 degrees Celsius or so. And then on the 16E with 18.3.1, we're at about 28.8, it looks like, at the highest point. So definitely a little bit warmer, and it's not really doing anything. Now, I did run benchmarks again since it's been a few days just to see what they've come up with, and it did seem to improve a little bit. So let's take a look just on this device here. So we'll go to Geekbench 6. We'll go back, and you'll see it came in at 3,499 for single core, 8,551 for multi-core. It's not the best I've seen, but it's an improvement over when I first installed it. So it is a little bit better, but definitely not as good as it could be. So hopefully it improves a little bit more with the next update. I saw the same sort of results on the other devices. Now, as far as the overall experience, let's take a look at the comments and see what you had to say. Scott Hagel 3254 said, I was able to download and install iOS 18.4 Beta 1 on an iPhone 12 before the beta was removed for the iPhone 12 family. 18.4 Beta 1 is running as good or better than iOS 18.3.1. The phone is fast, without lag, has great Wi-Fi and cellular connectivity, and excellent battery life. QMD Yasser says 18.4 Beta 1 has battery drain and phone overheating issues. Nick Stas, hopefully I'm saying that properly, iOS 18.4 Beta 1, and it's okay so far. If I have any bugs, I just restart my phone, meaning turn off for a minute and turn back on, and everything functions except battery could be better. Waiting for the other features and bug fixes for 18.4. Mr. D. Zonson says, using 18.4 on iPhone 15, working good, haven't seen any bugs yet. Kenneth Booth 3529 said, it hasn't been bad. A few stutters with the camera, and Apple Music stutters a little bit from time to time through CarPlay. A simple stop and restart the app fixes it without issues. Battery is still running down a little fast, but I'm still getting update finishing in the background messages too, so I expect that. William Iberg says, I'm currently running iOS 18.4 beta on my iPhone 15 Pro Max, and battery seems to be functioning okay. However, my friend, who also has an iPhone 15 Pro Max running iOS 18.4 beta, is experiencing poor battery life. Earlier this week, his alarm didn't sound on his phone, causing him to wake up late and miss multiple alarms he had set. When he picked up his phone, he noticed that his alarm was going off without any sound. While I do slightly regret upgrading to iOS 18.4 beta, I do enjoy the priority notifications and ambient music features. When it comes to storage, let's go ahead and take a look. We'll go to General and then iPhone Storage, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see iOS hasn't decreased at all. It hasn't used any more, but with 18.4, it is using more storage with Apple Intelligence, 7.05 gigabytes, for a total of 19.42 with the operating system. Of course, system data goes up and down. You'll see it just jumped from 9 gigabytes to 14. It goes up and down as needed. As far as anything else, well, I do expect more features with iOS 18.4 Beta 2. Maybe we'll get some additional things we weren't expecting, or maybe things will just be more stable. We'll have to wait and see. But again, I think we're at a critical time as far as the overall updates, and Apple really needs to get this right. Or maybe iOS 19 is just such a big change that they're really focusing on that, and maybe that's what's going on. We just don't know at this point. So that's everything with iOS 18.4 Beta 1. If you found any additional features I haven't mentioned in the previous videos about iOS 18.4, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.